and welcome. I'm glad you are joining me on another session of Observing Style, where I have a look at popular and professional game releases on the market, I take a personal liking to, analyze their art styles, and try to create some assets in the very same direction. I am Jana from 2D Pix, and today we will be looking at a very interesting indie game release again, which, despite of its inventive and inspiring approach, is, in my personal opinion, not talked about enough. The title I am hinting at is the puzzle platformer Flipping Death, released in 2018. I played it on PlayStation 4 and was immediately impressed with its witty humor and unique gameplay, which is a mixture of 2D platforming action as well as typical adventure aspects like story-driven dialogues to go through and fun puzzles to solve. Think of it as Monkey Island meets Rayman Origins. The story of the game centers around the main character Penny, who accidentally dies and stumbles into the world of the dead, where a totally overworked and not all too grim Reaper confuses her with a temp and leaves her in charge of the afterlife, while taking some much needed vacation. Being dead anyway and out of a job, Penny decides to not complain and give it a try. This is where the fun starts. As a player, you will help out a bunch of ghosts to deal with their unfinished businesses whilst trying to pursue your own goal of finding a way back to life. Penny has the ability to reach out into the living world and possess people. She can read their minds, find out hidden truths, and influence actions of them to benefit the greater good in the moral of the story. The whole game idea centers about the duality of life and death, and is therefore also displayed in its art approach. The world and characters of Flipping Death are built and stacked up like a cardboard diorama, with two sides to it. Basically, we are looking at a 3D technical approach which focuses on the use of 2D perspective and illustrations. The game has a very unique, surreal, cartoon aesthetic to it, which seems influenced by its modern technical approach to 2D games, as well as a strive for simplicity. As within my other videos of the series, I will only pick out one aspect of the game's art for the following analyzation part, and to me the approach to characters seems the most concise when it comes to the uniqueness of Flipping Death. Like always, I went ahead and found some references of the game character designs online. You will find the web sources for them down below in the description. I claim no rights to the game graphics and only use them for my personal commentary on here within this video series. So if you like what you see and hear, consider supporting the creators and visit the official websites for more information. You will also find links to them down below. If you look at the characters, you can directly spot their expressionistic quality and quite a few unique style traits when it comes to anatomy, which I will point out later on. But for now we will stay with the basics first. As you can see, there are two categories, ghosts and living humans, mainly differing by the choice of color palettes. So much for the surface level. To get into the details, let's approach the observation on style rules from our known lenses, starting with scale. Characters are either depicted as slim and tall, or strongly built and short, so depending on the type, the style works with heights either based on 6 or 3 heads. Sometimes this rule will look a bit off because of weird anatomic deformities, like a bent neck or the instrumentalization of character-defining signature poses, like the character sitting in a wheelchair. When it comes to proportions, there are quite a few exceptions and variants simply because the characters are so expressionistic in tone. However, they also share certain qualities. For example, all characters have very long tube-like and thin arms. This is also true for the legs of taller characters, however the smaller ones are working with extremely short legs in relation to their upper bodies. On a closer look, it can also be seen that characters all have 4 fingers only, very big hands and very little feet. Tall characters seem to work with extremely long necks, whilst the smaller ones are made short by not having one at all. So much for proportions. Moving over to line art, we can encounter something a little different than within all the previous videos. Whilst everything analyzed before Flipping Death in the series always had a clear drawing style for line art, characters in this game are created more painterly, it seems. We see outlines, but they are more like dark contrasted edges than purely straight pencil lines. Also, I would say they are a bit more washed out, if you get what I mean. Where color is concerned, it can be said that the temperature of the palette in use for the game's design is linked to the realms which are depicted, meaning life and afterlife. Whilst the living world works with a very warm scheme using a lot of brown, yellow and pinkish tones, the afterlife is much more cooler in tone by using blue, purple and grey. There are no patterns or photographic details used for textures. Material surfaces are purely brush-based, and it seems like the basic brush used for surfaces is of a marker-like rectangular shape. Variations on this seem to be done between this rather softly blended brush and a sponge-like base. Light and shadow is also handled via brushwork only. They are all done in a painterly style with no clean-cut filled-in selections, layer-based or dynamic shadows. Continuing the analyzation, we should move over to mimics and face parts. Here we have a lot happening when it comes to rules on the style. All characters seem to have extremely small or no ears at all, and rather thick chumpy eyebrows. A look at noses reveals that ghosts will have triangular-shaped holes in the middle of their faces, whilst living people work with rather knobbly and shiny noses. A rather distinct style rule on the faces is what I would call a cut-through jawline, meaning the chin and lower lip is detached from the rest of the face. It seems rather iconic and also simplifies animation a lot. The eyes of the characters are mainly marble-like with very small dotted pupils in them. Well, that was it for the analyzation part of this video. I think we already have a lot to work with again and established quite some good ground for some creations of our own. As always, I hope you feel inspired enough to try out a few things for yourself, or you let me invite you to have a look at my own go, which is following up next within this video. So, of course, I need to think of a concept to realize in the style analyzed, and for this I thought about the game's depiction of the two worlds. When thinking about the afterlife, I imagined there might be a reason why angels and demons could be found there. And I thought it would be a great idea to have a go at a demon-like character that could be found between all those ghosts, just waiting to drag one away. here we go. I think the guy looks quite cool. What do you think? Anyway, another style study nearly finished except for the last and hardest part to face. The comparison with the original art, of course. So what went right and what went wrong on my result? Well, I think scale is quite okay, as well as a rather distinct character trademarks like ears, eyes, arms and hands. However, I'm not all too certain about the brush texture, since it was really hard for me to guess the exact type being used on the original art surface. It seems okay, but not quite there yet. Also, the outline is too dark and could have been much more tinted in with the main tone of the character's elements and body parts. The color choice, however, feels good again on a positive note. I went with a more cool tone of the afterlife, although a demon could have been reddish like hellfire since it would have been another realm depicted, but why not go with it like that? I guess that's all I can say for now. I hope you enjoyed this video or maybe even had some fun on trying your own character creation alongside me. If so, be sure to let me know what you came up with. That said, I can only wish you a great time again until next time and stay creative.